not here every day, but every time something major happens in the world of immigration and illegal immigration from the Federation for American Immigration Reform, it's our very good friend Ira Mehlman. Ira, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Good to be back. Thank you.
Very good to have you back. So there's a new report by FAIR that's examining some direct links, and we've got a lot of immigration problems, but this is a direct link between the Biden administration policies and an incredible spike in the illegal immigration that comes from Venezuela. Fill this in a little bit for me. Just how large is this?
It is a 7,300% increase over fiscal year 2020. In just the past few years, it's gone through the roof. It's gone from about 4,500 encounters at the border to, I think, about 330 some odd thousand last year. And this is all due directly to the policies of this administration.
Yeah, that's unconscionable.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said that's unconscionable. I mean, to sit there, I mean, I'm just waiting for somebody to ask a question of, Corinne Jean-Pierre, they're in the press room, and say, we've gone from 4,500 to 334,000. Well, it's been that kind of a surge. The answers we get out of this administration tell us they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, look, I mean, Venezuela has been a basket case for a while, but it is not that much worse than it was before President Biden came to office.
Right.
The only logical conclusion is that it is his policies that have created this. There's the added concern of dealing with Venezuela because it really is a hostile regime. They maintain close ties with Iran. They have been issuing visas to Iranians who are coming to the Western Hemisphere and making their way up through Central America and to the U.S. border. They have been issuing passports to Iranian nationals, Venezuelan passports. So these are things that are of deep concern to the American public, or at least it should be to our president and Secretary of Homeland Security, that you have a hostile regime working with an avowed enemy in the Middle East that is the world's largest backer of terrorism, that they are working so closely, and we are maintaining virtually an open border for anybody who shows up from Venezuela. That ought to be very, very concerning, especially right now.
Well, and one other little tidbit that was there in the report, which kind of threw me for a minute. I guess maybe I've been partially brain dead, which is a surprise to nobody, but Venezuelans are now the second most commonly encountered nationality at the border, trailing only Mexicans. I mean, are Mexicans coming, and are they trying to declare amnesty?
Well, Mexicans, Mexico has been the largest source of illegal immigration for decades. They are economic migrants. But what you are seeing from Venezuela are people who are abusing our asylum system. And that really has been the driving force behind this surge that we've seen over the past 3 years, is that under this administration, you can get to the border, say, I want asylum in the United States, and the odds are that you are going to be released into the country. Mm-hmm. Most of these people, the vast majority, are economic migrants, but they understand that if you say those magic words, I want asylum, that you will be let in, you will be here for years because there are 3 million cases backlogged in our courts. It is going to take years and years before you ever see the inside of a courtroom. In the meantime, you're going to be allowed to stay here. You're going to eventually be granted work authorization, which is exactly what you came for.
Right.
And then, even if you show up for your court date sometime in the 2030s, and your case is turned down, nobody's going to make you leave. Once you've been here that long, it is virtually impossible to get rid of people who are here illegally. So the administration understands this, and this really is the objective here, just to create facts on the ground. They understand that once people get here, they're going to stay, and this is precisely what they want.
Ira, let's talk about some of the empowerment behind all this, because when you say Venezuelans, you have to look to their regime of who's running everything. They've got a Marxist dictator, Nicolas Maduro, and he is playing, rubby foot, kissy face and everything with some people like Iran and Russia and China. So Venezuela offering traveling documents for their own people. I'm not real crazy about the fact that they could also do some for Iran, Russia, and China. And we know that's going on.
Yeah, that is exactly what is going on. They do, as I said earlier, they have very close ties with the regime in Iran. Look, I mean, since October 7th, it has gotten much, much more dangerous. You have Iran and their proxy groups openly threatening that they plan to attack the United States. And you have an administration in Washington that is ignoring these overt threats. They're ignoring the warnings of their own FBI director and leaving that border wide open, especially when you're dealing with countries that really mean to do us harm. And, you know, because of Venezuela's ties, you point out, with Iran, Russia, and China, they pose a significantly increased danger over the rest of the millions of illegal aliens who are coming here.
When you say that the Venezuelans that get encountered down at our border increased 77% between fiscal 2022-2023, and now they're saying the increase since 2020. So in the last 3+ years, it's increased 7,309%. That's astounding to me.
It is. Look, I mean, when you start with a very low base number like 4,500, you get these huge numbers. But you mentioned that it's 77% over last year.
Right.
And the numbers were already large last year. So, you know, if as the numbers get larger, a 77% increase really is astounding. And there is no indication that this administration is doing anything to try to tamp this down. In fact, they have issued new incentives for Venezuelans to try to come to the United States. You know, they have extended the temporary protected status to a whole new group of Venezuelans. They are running a parole program which allows Venezuelan nationals to just get on a plane in Caracas and fly to the United States without even having to come up through Mexico and Central America. So they are doing everything in their power to actually encourage more illegal immigration from Venezuela, rather than taking the threats that are being posed to us very seriously and stopping this. So they're essentially playing Russian roulette with the safety of the American public. You know, so far we've been lucky, but we can't count on luck holding out.
No. When you look back at what happened at 9/11 and the fact that that was accomplished by 19 people, yes, I know a lot of other people behind the scenes and all that, but on that day, 19 people did the damnable things that happened to our country. That's amazing. And then when you start seeing, Ira, the number of illegals coming through our border, and then they now tell us that we have an awful lot of illegals coming with horrible criminal records, some who have been, disposed from this country in the past, and now they're coming back through the second time. And then, Ira, 3 days ago, I had somebody tell me on the air that if somebody comes and they're coming from China, that's like a golden ticket.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the Department of Homeland Security, which, was created after 9/11 and is, now being the primary tool for undermining the security of the country, but they actually relaxed the interrogation standards for Chinese nationals who are apprehended at the border. I mean, it is just unconscionable that they would do this, and yet the standards for vetting the people who are coming in from China have been relaxed over the past year by Secretary Mayorkas and the Department of Homeland Security. So, and you mentioned that the crime. You look at New York City, which has been the largest recipients of the Venezuelan migrants. There is a crime wave being carried out by many of these migrants because they do have criminal records back in their home country. And, they're doing this with such impunity that they simply feel that the laws don't apply to them, and for good reason, because we have not enforced our laws. New York City continues to maintain its sanctuary jurisdiction status, so that they feel like they can just do whatever they want and not worry about any of the consequences.
Yeah, I wish I had the freedom as a free American to say and to do the things that they are doing with freedom and impunity, because I have a funny feeling that if we go to court, that somebody who's an illegal immigrant is going to find more favor with a judge and a jury than I would find, whatever it is that I would be in there for. It's like we're afraid to touch them. We're afraid to do something wrong. Part of it is, I believe, we're afraid of China, and we're afraid of the cartels. I mean, that's why I think down in Mexico that Chinese can get in there freely into Mexico, fly into Mexico City or where they fly, and then they'll help them walk on up because they are afraid. You've got the Chinese and their ability to create all the drugs that we find on our streets who come across the border, and it's put out by whom? The friends of the cartels. And the Mexican government is terrified of those people. This is a no-win situation for us.
It's a no-win situation as long as we have an administration that refuses to secure our borders and protect the security and the interests of the American public. We saw in the past when we demonstrated the resolve to enforce our laws that people responded in a rational way. A lot fewer people came. We talked back. We harked back to 2020. That year, there were about 400,000 people who were encountered coming across our borders illegally. Over each of the last 5 months, in every one of those months, there were more than 300,000 people encountered coming across illegally. So we can deter it. We just have to have an administration that is prepared to carry out the laws of this country and do what they're supposed to do, which is to protect the security of the American public.
We always appreciate having Ira Mehlman on. He, of course, is with FAIR, the Federation of American Immigration Reform. And Ira, I hope the day comes in the next year or two when we're all back in Washington again for joint radio rows and putting the word out for everybody from everywhere. But I think you're right. I think this year and the election that occurs this fall is of grave importance, and not just the White House, but who we put into the House and the Senate. I think we need a conservative, politically minded president who understands what's happening at the border, and a House and Senate that will vote along with him. I know you guys fight like crazy over there in D.C. to try to get all this done. I appreciate it very much. And Ira, for your time today, sir, thank you so very, very much.
A pleasure. Thank you.
You bet. Ira Mehlman, he, of course, is with FAIR, the Federation of American Immigration Reform.
Podcasts by Federated Media.